about you guys. My favorite is like a Where's Waldo book, Goosebumps novel. I actually found a really interesting new Where's Waldo book that was called Where's Waldo in the Police State. You had to find Waldo at one of them Free Palestine rallies. Facial recognition software, so the game has changed. But I actually wanted to read something a little bit more grown up. A friend suggested the Communist Manifesto, and I decided to give that a read. But I think capitalism won because I had to go and buy the Communist Manifesto in a half-price books. I did find some of it a little bit convincing. You know, if someone came to me and said, let's drag the wealthy to the guillotines and redistribute the lands to the people, I could get behind that, because that's the only way I'll ever afford a house. I love to read ever since I was a kid. I don't know if you guys ever went to one of them Scholastic book fairs or sent any of your kids, but it was one of those things where your mom would give you a bunch of money for books, and all you came home with was an eraser the size of your head and a poster with a Ferrari on it for some reason. While I was digging through there, I actually found a book that I thought was a little bit inappropriate. It was a children's edition of the Communist Manifesto. It was called Curious George and the People's Revolution. And the sensational follow-up book, Curious George Attends Re-Education Camp. Spoiler alert, guys, he reemerges as, we don't question the state George. We just obey the man in the big red hat. Joseph Stalin, whatever they called him, I don't remember. I always loved to be an actor ever since I was a kid. I actually got a big break to be in my middle school play. Only problem, this was a Black History play and I was the only white kid in my school. You know who they made me be? The bus driver that kicks Rosa Parks off of the bus. Every story needs a villain, right? This will be my Darth Vader moment. So I'm on the stage in front of all the parents, classmates in my school, driving my bus, and it's my big moment because I noticed somebody's not where they belong. Stay with me, guys, I'm in character, remember? So I gotta go to future civil rights activist Rosa Parks and tell her, you gotta get out of your seat or I'm calling the police. She won't go, so I called a police officer to arrest her, and you know who that was? It was me. I changed my costume. I got back on the bus. I took Rosa Parks to jail. Some might say you couldn't have had civil rights without me, so you're all very welcome. I actually got one more role in this play, which I thought might be a little bit of redemption in the eyes of everybody. I got to be President John F. Kennedy and give a speech. Ask not what your country can do for you. I practiced front to back. I thought it would get me a standing ovation. All it got me was a sitting assassination. I should have known that convertible ride past the grassy knoll was a setup. I have a cause that's very near and dear to my heart, organ donation. I think everybody should sign the license and become an organ donor. You can applaud for that. Yeah, give it up for that. So my father, when he passed away, he was an organ donor, and his bones and tissue went on to help 80 different people all across the country, which is a beautiful thing. Clap it up for that. It's given me a new purpose in life, actually, is I'm going to travel the country and meet all 80 of these people and repossess my father's bones and reassemble him piece by piece. It'll be the last puzzle we ever do together. I've been listening to some hip-hop music recently. My favorite white hip-hop artist, Kanye West, has been in the news recently. I know the name is misleading, but his actions speak otherwise, because he went and made a song called Heil Hitler, which is crazy. That would be like if Superman went out and made a song called I Love Lex Luthor. Because no matter how much you kiss that guy's butt, he still wants to kill you. And to top it all off, he went out and sold t-shirts with swastikas on them on Yeezy.com. For $20 a pop, it was by far the cheapest thing Kanye ever sold. And they sold about 100,000 of these things before they pulled them off the website. I bought most of them myself, but I promised we're gonna destroy them. And then to put the racist cherry on top of this sundae was he gave an interview in an all-black Ku Klux Klansman robe. Where the hell did that thing come from? That had to be custom made. What was that phone call like? You know, ring ring, Ku Klux Klan wardrobe division. You want us to make what? You gonna pay us how much? Who, Cletus? We got a special order. Go and get them blackout curtains. These Klan robes are made right here in America to this day. They never outsourced them, not once. You guys, I've had a varied dating experience. I've dated all different types of ladies. I date women like I'm going to Baskin Robbins, you know, the ice cream place, and you try every flavor that they have as a free sample, and when you get to the end, you just go, can I taste chocolate again? I forgot chocolate taste. I always double dip for chocolate, boys, if you know what's good for you. But I actually used to date a trans girl, and I would have seen her no different as any other lady, and I wanted to please her like a woman. I wanted to go down on her, but she wouldn't let me. She told me if you sucked my dick, I wouldn't feel like a woman, which proves in my mind beyond a shadow of a doubt that is absolutely a real woman. Because what man is turning down a blowjob? Especially from me. She doesn't know what she missed out on. Well, you guys, I think I'm going to wrap up my set there. And we give it up for JT, give it up for the rest of the comics you'll see tonight. Give it up for yourselves. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate you guys so much.
Hey, he was supposed to do 15, he only did 12. You're not getting paid for this, buddy. Come on now. Jesus, I guarantee this money. I don't know who was showing up to this show, but give it up for Chris, German name guy. All right. That's actually not even Chris, it's Daniel. The next guy coming up is Chris. He's also German, but his last name is a little easier to pronounce. I want you guys to make it loud. He's also a Milwaukee comic, doing the Milwaukee Comedy Festival this October. Give it up for Chris Schmidt, everybody. Oh yeah, don't worry, we're gonna have a quick intermission here. We're trying to get professional recordings in this back of the RV setting. There we go. Chris Schmidt. Pretty cool. I'm wearing this jacket, I'm not cold, I just realized I dressed the exact same as Dan, who you just saw. And that wouldn't be a big deal, but we also have kind of the same hair and same facial hair. So I'm just gonna be a little warm up here and add some visual distinction. You imagine if Dan and I were the only two white people you knew? You'd be like, they all look the same. No variation. Man, hey everybody, I'm happy to be up here. I didn't get up a lot in the summer, so it's good getting back on stage, and a lot's happened over the summer. We had that real bad flood last week. That's unfortunate. The state fair flooded though, and I think that's just a sign that God thinks they've gone too far with the food. You know, you heard about like I think the new thing this year was they were doing a donut with bugs on it, and God was like, all right, we're just gonna reset West Dallas. That's not okay. They're putting what on a stick? They're putting what on a stick? And that's basically sodomy at this point. Flood it. Another big thing that happened this summer, Hulk Hogan passed away. Can you believe it? Who thought that guy was ever going to die, right? Thought Hulk Hogan was going to outlast us all. And I wasn't as sad about it as I thought I probably would be, because I was like a Hulkamaniac when I was a kid. You know, I was a big Hulk Hogan fan when I was like 8 years old. And by the time I was like 10, I was like, all right, that guy's kind of full of himself. And he's telling me to pray, train, eat my vitamins. He's a little too demanding. I'm not a Hulk Hogan fan anymore. I like the Macho Man. He's less predictable. A lot of people turned on Hulk Hogan. He lost a lot of fans. It's funny, like, being a wrestling fan, I dislike Hulk Hogan for a different reason than why most other people dislike Hulk Hogan. Like, there's people who don't like Hulk Hogan because they're like, he made a gross sex tape. There's people who don't like him because they're like, he said the N-word. And like, I don't like Hulk Hogan because he refused to cleanly lie down to Sting at Starrcade 97. That's my gripe. The other stuff's bad, but that's really my issue. He was selfish. As a wrestling fan, I didn't appreciate how selfish he was. It's sad that he died of a heart attack. And someone could have called 911, but they saw him shaking his head and puffing his cheeks, and they just thought he was making a comeback. They're like, this is what he does before he beats up a Russian guy. I've seen this before. I do think Hulk Hogan did one funny thing before he died, though, and that was he appeared at the Republican National Convention a couple years ago. And what I think is so funny about that is a couple days before the Republican Convention, Donald Trump got shot in the ear. And I know Hulk Hogan well enough to know the first thing he did when he took that stage was give him one of these. Because Hulk Hogan is not very self-aware. That's pretty funny to me. It's been a big summer for me. I've been reconsidering my identity a little bit lately. That's what's been on my mind lately. And I know this isn't going to fly too well out here, but stick with me. I've been thinking about making the switch to non-binary pronouns. All right, and like I said, stay with me. I have a good reason. It's just occurred to me that would lower the level of masculinity I'm expected to live up to. Right? And for a guy like me, that's pretty convenient. You know, like I've accepted I am never going to be the most macho he, him. But don't any of you try and tell me I wouldn't be an extremely butch they, them. Right? I know what I'm working with. I'm not the Marlboro man, but maybe I could be the Marlboro person. I can do some of the things a cowboy can do. No, I can't swing a lasso or ride a horse, but I can play guitar and miss home. That's half of life on the range. I've never wrangled a steer, but I've bottled my depression. And I can't think of anything more manly than that, right? Stoic, very stoic. Give it up for all the cute dogs here. I've seen a couple cute dogs. It's always a pleasure. There's a little one over there. I'm a new dog guy. I was never a big dog guy before. I liked them, but I think I'm just getting more into them now. And what I've noticed is I've started making comments to dog owners on the street without thinking about it. That's a new level for me. I was out for a walk the other day and a little pooch caught my eye. And without even thinking about it, I just said to the owner, I was like, hey, cute dog. And I did not expect the response I received to that. He said, you know, she's more than just a pretty face. What am I supposed to say to that? I was like, okay, hey, your dog has a nice rack. Is that the praise you were hoping to receive? I'm sorry, your dog has a nice set of racks. Because that's a pretty cool thing about dogs. They got like 6 of them. It's twice as many as that chick from Total Recall, fellas who know. 6 boobs McGee. I'm out here from Milwaukee. That's give it up for Milwaukee, what a city. So I think it could fairly be called a city of pluses and minuses. There's some good things about Milwaukee, some bad things. I've learned our reputation from traveling. There's only 3 things people try to talk to me about when I hear I'm from Milwaukee. Either they bring up beer, they bring up cheese, or they bring up Jeffrey Dahmer. Unfortunately, those have become our 3 claims to fame, which I will say, as a lifetime Milwaukeean, does paint a pretty accurate portrait of Milwaukee. Because there is something about life there that makes you either want to drink your feelings, eat your feelings, or eat your neighbors. Which is why you gotta look out for anyone who's sober and lactose intolerant in Milwaukee. Because how are they quieting those voices? I do think the Dahmer thing screwed up my head a little bit, because I was in like 6th grade when that all happened, and I was a kid who had a wild imagination. I loved horror movies. And I told my cousin I was scared, and I asked him, what if this murderer escapes from jail, and what if he comes and kills me? And my cousin was like, you don't have to worry about that, he only kills gay dudes. And I said, oh. And then asked myself, what if I'm gay? And what you gotta understand is that's the first time that thought had ever crossed my mind at all. Which means to this day, I can't be entirely certain if my heterosexuality is the product of nature, or if Jeffrey Dahmer scared me straight. And I gotta tell you, that screws with my head a little bit. Knowing Jeffrey Dahmer possibly played a role in my psychosexual development. Not a fun thought to have. But I do want to say, not that I would have a problem with being gay if I were. I support everybody's lifestyle. I just want everyone to be happy. And I think dudes even got to stop making fun of each other by calling each other gay all the time. I think we do that too much. And I don't even mean you got to stop entirely. I'm just saying save it for when it actually applies. Okay, I think that's fair. Like, let me give you an example. I was at a barbecue restaurant with a friend of mine, and I don't like getting messy when I eat, so I was using a fork. And my friend called me gay for that. I see like 3/4 of the dudes in the audience nodding their heads right now. I get it. Ooh, manners are so gay. You know, I grew up in the 80s. I know. Let's just leave that thinking behind, all right? There's nothing inherently gay about using silverware. But do you know how my friend proceeded to clean off his fingers? Yeah, if you haven't arrived at the image mentally yet, deep throating each and every one of them. Yeah! All of them in there at once. Every train in the tunnel. And now I found that to be legitimately pretty gay. Because I was extremely turned on. I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me? How have you never mentioned having no gag reflex before? I just don't even know what to say. The entire fist was in there, all right? It was hot and impressive. I spilled a bowl of sauce on my lap and was like, hey, me next. And then we tested the boundaries of our friendship. So I guess what I'd like you to take away from that is let's pull back on the casual homophobia. But also, don't be a cock tease, all right? Use a napkin. Okay? Don't send signals you're not going to make good on. It's not fair. I'm not experiencing a dread many are probably experiencing right now around this time of the year because I'm a former teacher. Give it up for that. Give it up for me being a former teacher. That's right, I got out of there. It's not easy. Once public education gets its hooks in you, tough to escape. I had to figure out a way to set aside my enormous ego and admit the best thing I could do for those kids was turn around and walk out of their lives for good. Because I wasn't cut out to be a teacher. That's what I learned about myself. I'm not a good authority figure. I always had a really hard time telling my students no, especially when they asked if I was looking to buy weed. Because look at me. Yes, I was, okay? Also, I was relying on that discount. They would trade me for a passing grade. My C's for J's program. But I think that smoking pot made me a better teacher, and I actually have some evidence to back that up. I noticed right around the time I started smoking weed, all of my students' grades drastically improved. I'm not sure what it was, but suddenly their essays weren't so hard to read anymore. I was like, oh, I get it. That's the first time a student ever gave me an apple, and I turned it into a pipe and got high out of it. It's a good thing we had for a while. But like I said, I wasn't cut out to be a full-time teacher. I did take a step back and become a substitute teacher for a bit. And I think that was a better fit for me. That let me still work with kids, but I also got to never see those kids again. You know, I was finally free to just drift in and out of their lives like an uncle who's dabbling in sobriety. Just as much expectation to remember their names. Suited me pretty well. And it was good practice for being a stand-up comedian, because no audience of adults is ever going to be able to get to me like a classroom where those kids could. And I want to set the record straight that it's not like kids are these genius roasters. I think people give them too much credit. What kids' real talent is, they have the tenacity to just mash together every conceivable pairing of words until they find the one combination that rips your soul right out of your body. Which I did have a student find with me one time. I had this kid, he was running around the classroom, he's been really aggravating. And I finally said to him, hey, would you just take a seat? And he told me to shut my mouth. You grilled cheese bitch. I'm gonna need a second. I always think it's not gonna hurt anymore, and I can't get there. I don't think I'll ever be that strong. And there's no way that kid could have known that is probably the most devastating thing he could have said to me. Because as it turns out, the grilled cheese is my favorite sandwich. And since that day, I haven't been able to eat one without feeling like a bitch. Lost my favorite sandwich that day. That was the day I quit being a sub, because I was like, if the next kid calls me a BLT ass, I'm gonna have nothing to live for. I gotta keep at least one good sandwich in my life. One thing I do want to say about being a teacher, though, to comment on a debate that's pretty hot in the field today, I don't think that we should be giving teachers guns for their classrooms. I think that's a really bad idea. Because speaking from my experience, the entire time they gave me any new technology for my classroom, I eventually abused it. When they gave me smart books, when they gave me smart books, Chromebooks, smart boards, when they gave me any of those things, it all just became a crutch to maintain my students' attention. And I know that would have happened with a gun sooner than later. Right? I know myself well enough to know I would have been up there like, hey, could I get a volunteer to read the first chapter? Could I get a volunteer to read the first chapter for once, please? All right, look, I want to see some hands in the air right now. Stick them up. Saying popcorn reading. This is popcorn reading. If anyone's got any questions about the assignment, my office hours are now or never. And that's why we were applauding me being a former teacher earlier, by the way. Not the best job for me. I do like being a comedian, though. This is fun. I take shows in some unconventional spots here and there. A couple years ago, someone asked me if I wanted to perform at a gathering of conservatives in the park. Apparently, sometimes GOP stands for Grand Ole Picnic. You know, and you can all look at me and tell I'm not the guy for that job, right? You know, my only voting interest is legalizing weed, pretty much, as I said earlier. I'm not the comedian for that audience, but they did something kind of tricky. They offered me more money than the value of my principles. So I did end up taking the gig, because I just gotta get paid, you know? And once I take a gig like that, then I'm kind of looking at it as a challenge. You know, I know I'm not gonna be able to do my regular set. I'm probably gonna have to adapt to the room. And with this one, I was kind of surprised with the list of restrictions they gave me. They said, hey, look, you can talk about pretty much anything, you can swear. All we ask is no pedophile jokes. And I found that to be alarmingly specific. Right, because if that's on a list of topics that are out of bounds, that's kind of what I expect. But by itself, that makes it sound like there are going to be pedophiles there. And they don't like being teased about it. Leave us alone. This is the one day we get to come to the park. Be nice. Yeah, and that doesn't sound like a fun audience to me. Just a bunch of uppity child molesters hanging out by the swing set, grumbling about how age of consent should be states' rights. No, thank you. So I told the organizers, I was like, hey, I want you to be straight with me right now. Are there going to be pedophiles in this audience? Because if there are, I am definitely going to need to be paid more for my conscience. And what's funny is they didn't tell me yes or no. They only asked how much. And that's when I found out how much my conscience costs. I won't tell you the figure, but I will say it was over 18, so. That line never works, but I just needed to be there. Okay. Gotta put a closer there. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up on this. This was another kind of unconventional show I performed at. I think there's nothing harder for me as a comic than when I get booked to perform with musicians. Sometimes I'll get booked with music, and that's a really tough energy to compete with. Like, I just have to admit, musicians are the cooler performers, right? Like, if a band does everything right on stage, everyone in the audience wants to be them. When a comic does everything right on stage, no one in the audience wants to be them. This is why musicians get groupies and comedians have to settle for strained relationships. And a couple years ago, I got booked for a county fair, and I was like, all right, that could be good. When I showed up, I found out I was gonna have to follow a Journey tribute act. Like, you can understand how screwed I am, right? You seem sufficiently impressed by that. I was terrified. I was like, I've never been more intimidated. How can I follow that, you know? Do you know how many people who go to county fairs love Journey? All of them, exactly. And do you know how many people who go to county fairs have no clue who I am? Exactly. Full overlap, 100%, you know? So I'm realizing if I can't get up there and hook the audience's attention, they're all just gonna hit the corn dog stand on my set, you know? I'm gonna suffer the very unique indignity of performing in front of an empty tent. And that's not what I want, so I'm really racking my brain. What can I say to grab them? And I'm watching the band perform. They were too good. I mean, at this point, a competent Journey cover band is as good as seeing Journey themselves. You know, I can't follow that. I gotta write all my own material. It's not fair. So I didn't think I was gonna pull it off, but right before the band did their last song, the singer dedicated it to his stepson. And it was like the clouds parted in front of me. I was like, oh, I know exactly what to say. I went up there, I said, give it up for the band one more time. They were great. Can you believe that guy's a stepdad and performs in a cover band? What's happening? Does he just refuse to compose original material? Yeah, that's a real joke, right? That got them all paying attention. I ended up having a pretty good set. It felt like a win. But then I made the mistake of lingering on the fairgrounds after the show, and I happened to run into fake Steve Perry. And he did not look happy. He came right at me, like a midnight train going anywhere. And without even saying a word, he hit me with one of those dad pokes to the chest. Although I suppose in this case it was a stepdad poke to the chest. And he said, hey, I didn't like you talking about my act up there. How would you feel if I got on stage and I performed a song about what a bad comedian you are? And I said, well, that would absolutely hurt my feelings, but first someone else would have to write and record that song. That's right, everybody, got him twice. All right, thank you so much. This has been a great time. I've been Chris Schmidt. Give it up for JT. Chris Schmidt, everybody. Oh, yeah. Can you believe there's 3 Germans on this show? You got Schmidt, the one other German guy, and Stockman. All right, let's get this done. This is great. You guys are my 27th show of the year right now. I've only been keeping this going on for 6 months. It's good. Every show's been great. That's what I understand. I just have to make sure every show goes well, and I don't get a DUI, and I can keep this thing rolling. So, I've been prepared for it. My first driving lesson only happened because my dad needed a DD. He was just sitting there like, "You're doing great, son." And I was like, "All right, I'm 12, but fuck it." Yeah. It's true. I grew up in a small town. I sound southern as hell, and we'll get to that in a minute. I actually grew up in Minnesota. Boo, I know, right? Surprisingly enough, I grew up a Steelers fan too. Forget the, at least they win shit. Like, oh my god. It's crazy. I grew up in a small town. My driver's ed instructor in high school, he had 2 DUIs under his belt. Mr. Medved, he got both of them on his motorcycle. Very cool guy. Oh yeah. The 3rd day of class, he taught us how to say the alphabet backwards. You think I'm making it up? I'm not. If someone just raised their hand, they're like, "Hey, is this going to be on the test?" And he was like, "Maybe someday." You guys ever start a car with a breathalyzer before? Yeah, I have. It was the driver's ed car. All right? ZYXWVUT SRQPONMLKJIHGFEDCBA. All right? All right? There we go. Who needs a DD? Just buy my drinks. We're good to go. All right? Strolling through with it. Oh, I'm down for it, sir. As soon as I told people I was going to do comedy in an RV, they're like, "You're going to bring people into your RV to perform?" I was like, that might be a little rough. Like, "Hey, you guys want to come into my RV, maybe have a laugh?" Like, oh god. Now I'm just performing at RV parks half the time. This is my first American Legion show. It's good. I've been heckled by so many things in comedy clubs. It's mainly by people. When you perform outside in RV parks, I've been heckled by actual crickets on stage, which is the worst thing in the world. The second worst thing is the sound of golf carts backing up as they're getting the hell out of there. Like, oh, all right, there goes another one. And they're definitely drinking and driving on that place. Oh, it's good. Wisconsin's all right. Like I said, I sound southern. I've been living in the South. I think if you live in the South, you have to sound southern because they will talk shit to you if you don't. If you live in that place, you have to have the accent because otherwise it doesn't make sense. I once met an Australian guy who didn't have an accent, and I was drunk when I met him, by the way. Yeah, trust me. I was drunk when I met him. He didn't have the accent, and when he tells you you're Aussie, like for a hot minute, I thought Aussie was slang for autistic. And he didn't have the accent, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I was like, "Oh, so you're good at like math and stuff like that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty friendly with it." I was like, "Dang, you're making good eye contact for an Aussie. What's going on over here?" Oh, dude, and that's when he got serious. He's like, "Whoa, do you think I'm autistic?" And I was like, "No, man, are you kidding me? I'm not talking shit. I don't know. You might be." Is your dad Aussie too? He's like, "Oh, my whole family is." I was like, "All right, you guys are rolling deep." Like, that happened naturally, or are there just like some branches crossing in the family tree? I don't know. Again, I can't talk shit. I have a niece that calls me her brother, and I don't ask questions at that point. It's very confusing. I'll get to that in a minute too. Living down south is fun though. I took the I-35 on the way up here, up from Austin to Minnesota. On the drive up here, I got struck with a riddle. Someone had handwritten on the back of their windshield. It just said, "My boss is a Jewish carpenter." Right? Yeah, okay, you know who I'm talking about, right? Yeah, see, I sat there for about 20 minutes before I was like, "Oh, fuck, Jesus." That's it. I read it in Oklahoma. At first I thought it was a complaint or something like that. Like, nobody likes their boss, come on. Shit, my boss is Jewish. Just the term alone, Jewish carpenter sounds crazy to me. That almost sounds like an edited curse word or some shit like that. You know, maybe like how a Mormon swears, right? Just walking along one day like, "Oh, Jewish carpenter that's gonna bruise." Oh. It almost sounds like a curse word for a household with a swear jar in it, right? I'm just guessing. I didn't grow up with a swear jar. My mom hit me in public. And she knew we didn't have any money. What goes the swear jar gonna do?
I was taking fucks out on credit. How was it? I'm still taking fucks out on credit. It costs money to give a fuck nowadays, I found out. That's why I quit watching the news. That was a terrible thing. Have you guys seen that before, the news? I've watched about 4 episodes now. It does not get any better. It just goes down the list of terrible things in a day. Just murder, death, rape, suicide, genocide, war, sexism, racism. Oh, please join us tomorrow. Like, for fucking what? What it made me do is it made me prioritize what I give a shit about in life. Because I have to start with me first and then care about the outside and everything like that. And before the news, I just cared about myself. After the news, I was like, oh, damn, have you heard about this global warming stuff? This is... like, the polar ice caps are going to melt, it's going to cause cataclysmic events and destroy the Earth, everyone's going to die, and I'm like, oh, is this going to happen, like, next Friday? And they're like, no, it's going to be in 10 years. I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to pay rent, so... well, hold on, the polar bears are going to go extinct. My check engine light's been on for a month, so... it's not that I don't care, it's just I got to worry about my stuff first. The last thing I want to do is go homeless, but... I'm a Jewish carpenter, this is wild. My boss is a Jewish carpenter. Like, you know what really fascinated me about that phrase is, I don't know that many Jewish carpenters. It made me realize Jesus is the GOAT of Jewish carpenters. It's true, I don't know who he was competing with in that category. I've worked construction for about a decade now. I haven't run into like an Isaac or a Joshua on the job. I do construction down south. I have met a lot of Jesuses. So, pretty confident they're Roman Catholic. Yeah, honestly, I've met so many now, it's gotten to the point where I'm like, you know, how do we know? You know, how do we know Jesus wasn't Mexican? And that's when a voice in the back of my head just went, nah, Jesus was an only child. There'd have been a lot more guests at that Last Supper. I'd have been a fiesta at that point. I know, like, here's the thing, I'm not even punching down on Mexicans in that joke, I'm punching up, because a lot of diverse white people here tonight, we don't got the balls to name a kid Jesus, okay? Like, we'll flirt around it, we'll grab names like Mary, John, Joseph, you know, the supporting cast. But, shit, a Hispanic mother? Messiah, all day. And I apologize if anyone finds that joke, like, accurate, but... I'm gonna tell you now, if you find it offensive, don't work construction. That is a softball joke on a construction site. If you find that joke offensive, put on a hard hat and a reflective vest and just walk into a construction site porta potty. And just read the shit people put on there. Like, I'm telling you, it's like walking into a prehistoric Twitter page. It's nothing but cave drawings of like wieners and vaginas, and then it's just racial slurs and jokes down the board. I'll put a heart next to it. I like it. It's pretty funny. Oh, but no, I'm pretty heavily Caucasian at this point. I go by JT because initially I started doing comedy in South Florida, and I started off performing at a lot of black clubs. So anytime I was walking up, they'd be like, "Oh, Justin Timberlake." All right. I didn't talk shit back, and then one day one of them was like, "Nah, fuck that. We're gonna call you JT." All right, cool. Like, my real name's Eric, but okay. And honestly, it's not. My real name's Jarrett with the T at the end of it. Yeah. So, but I found out the letter T is the most condescending letter in the alphabet without trying to be. Because people used to walk up to me and like, "Oh, what's up, Jared?" And I didn't want to be a dick and go, "It's Jarrett." And technically 2 T's, so all right. I like my name, but I don't like how I got my name, because I grew up in a family, we were all named after famous Jays. My brother Jordan was named after NBA legend Michael Jordan. I got named Jarrett after Dale Jarrett, the infamous NASCAR driver. Yeah, you guys watch NASCAR? Oh yeah, it fucking sucks. I'm not saying it sucks, but you know what I think would make NASCAR more interesting is if every time they took a pit stop, they had to do a shot in between. That'd be cool. You tune in then. Some professional DUIs? Hell yeah. If that were the case, I could be a NASCAR driver at that point. No, but honestly, I hit my 6th. I live down there right now. I don't claim that area at all. Austin's just a college town with skyscrapers at this point. It's just a lot of hippie kids. It's pretty much a college kid going through an identity crisis at this point. It's crazy. Even the restaurants there are in food trucks. Someone once made a joke. They're like, "Damn, even the restaurants here are homeless." Like, this is crazy. But in the meantime, you guys, if you guys want to come up here and grab a towel, donate $1, whatever, you know, we can pass them out. My name is Jarrett Stockman. Give it up for the comedy you saw tonight. If you had a good time at the show, you can look us up on Google Maps at Roadwork Comedy USA, not Maine. For some reason, there's one in Maine. You can leave a good review. If you had a bad time, just keep that shit to yourself. No one cares, all right? Well, thank you guys for coming out tonight.